هاي، نحن موجودين بهيركلز فتنس سنتر. موضوعنا لليوم بهمكم على الأكيد لأنه عم نحكي عن تمارين خاصة بالمعدة. مين منكم ما بيحلم إنه يعمل 6 or 8 باك؟ أو على القليلة خلينا نقول نحن بنحلم إنه أنتم يكون عندكم 6 or 8 باك. Hi Wills.
Hi Sandra.
Tell me, is training the ab muscles guarantee 6 and 8 packs?
No, unfortunately it's not that simple. Now, first and foremost, you can do as many crunches, sit-ups, whatever leg raises as you want. The 6-pack, if you're lucky enough to have the genes for an 8-pack, is never going to show up if there is fat covering it. You can you can do as many abdominal exercises as you want. It's not going to help. It'll build the muscle, it'll define the muscle, but it's not going to show the muscle for as long as there's fat over it. A recent study by the university, I think it was the University of Portland in the US, found that in order to burn 1 pound of fat, you have to do 200,000 crunches. I mean, that's like doing a crunch per second for 2 days non-stop.
Which is impossible, unless you want to be in a Guinness World Record.
Exactly. So doing abdominal exercises to get the 6-pack to show is not the way forward. It builds it, it doesn't show it.
Then what is the weight?
Well, first and foremost, 6-packs are built in the kitchen.
Okay.
But when you're in the gym, the best way is you need to burn fat.
Okay.
And there's a lot of ways to burn fat. The most effective way to burn fat is high intensity interval training. That could include stuff like Tabata training or circuits with weights where you combine weights, cardiovascular exercises. So there's a lot of different ways you can do high intensity interval training, heavy weight training, power exercises, strength exercises. All of these will help in reducing your overall fat. It does this by increasing the muscle mass, it increases the metabolism. As a result, your body burns more fat just doing the normal day-to-day
So why should we train the abs then?
Why? Well, once the fat's gone, you want the definition.
Okay.
So you train the abs so that once the fat is gone, they are visible. But in addition to that, you've got to train the abs because the abs is the core. All of your strength comes from here. From the front, from the back, from the sides. Your core determines your strength. If you have a weak core, you will be weak. Doesn't matter how good somebody looks, how big their muscles are, if their core is weak, they're weak. It exposes them to a lot of injuries. So train the core to make it strong, train the core that once the fat's gone, you can see what's underneath.
So should we wait until the fat disappears from the body, then we start training, or should we go in parallel?
You train it in parallel, but don't spend an hour or half an hour like a lot of people do. 5 minutes is enough.
5 minutes is enough.
5 minutes at the end of your workout is enough. But also remember, your core works when you train squats, when you train deadlifts, when you do military press, when you do push-ups, even when you do chin-ups. Your core is working.
So you recommend with weight or without weight?
With weight.
With weight always.
So,
what kind of weight?
Well, on these exercises. So you do whatever weight it is that you're doing, your core will be working because your core is stabilizing you. You can do additional core exercises like crunches, like sit-ups. My favorite is the Janda sit-up, or as my friend likes to call them, dumbass sit-ups #1.
So now you're going to explain this kind of sit-ups for us. How does it work? And I can see it's not conventional. This is the first time I see how it works. So tell me how it works.
Okay, now every joint in the body is moved usually by one prime mover. And when it comes to the hips, your prime mover is the iliopsoas, the hip flexor complex. Now most people, when they do sit-ups, actually are working the hip flexors, not their abdominals. It's the function of the hip flexors to flex the hips. So what we do in these sit-ups is we eliminate the psoas complex. And it's a process called reciprocal inhibition. It is something pioneered by Dr. Vladimir Janda in the 70s or the 80s. And what we do, we cause a strong contraction in the hamstrings. Now if the hamstrings contract, obviously the hip flexors can't. I mean, if you look at the bicep tricep for instance, in order for movement to happen, if I contract my bicep, the tricep has to relax. If it doesn't relax, no movement will take place. So in order exactly the same thing happens. So we contract the hamstrings. As a result, the hip flexors have to relax. And once they're relaxed, when you try and do a sit-up, you focus on the abdominals.
Yeah.
So that's the process that works there. And it's hard, it's tough.
Yeah.
And I recommend, well, try for 5 if you can do 5,
really?
Increase the weight, but never, because of the excessive lumbar flexion that you get, don't do this exercise in high reps. Rather do low reps, do them slowly, and trust me, you're going to struggle to do 5.
Yeah, I've tried it now, and I almost did 2. That's my maximum. but really, it's a nice exercise. It really works the muscles. How about the back muscles? I know that we should train every single muscle in the body, but still the back goes in parallel as well with the abs.
Exactly.
How do we train the back?
Exactly. As with all other muscles, for every, as I always say, I like to use Newton's third law of physics. For every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. Now, for every muscle, there's an opposite and equal muscle. So there's no point having an extremely strong core, like abdominal muscles, and your lower back muscles are not. That's going to pull you into a
bad
hunch.
shape, yeah.
Yes, into a bad posture. And my personal preference when it comes to low back strengthening is kettlebell swings. Yeah. Now, the kettlebell swing, even though it's primarily a gluteal exercise, it really works the lower back fantastically. For people who don't want to do kettlebell swings, you can do the back extensions,
yes.
Whether you have the horizontal, the GHD machine, or on the normal back extension machine at 45 degrees.
You're going to show a little bit.
I shall share that to you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Will.
You're welcome.
Useful information as usual. Thank you.
You're welcome.